Hello and welcome to Where You Not Entertained. I'm Daniel.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm James.
And we are going to be covering The Invisible Man.
The new one.
Yes.
Remake, yes.
The 2020 movie.
Yes, the 2020 movie. There have been quite a few instances of this.
And it's been out for a little while, and I'm to blame for the reason why we haven't covered it yet, because the previous ones had scared me off of this.
Yeah, which is fair enough. Because what was the one that was before this? Was that the Kevin Bacon Hollow Man?
That one, yeah, there was Hollow Man, which was 100% Invisible Man remake, basically. And then there's, like a dozen from the middle of the 1900s.
Yes, yeah, it was
century.
a big thing then.
Yes.
Yeah, and I always felt like it was one of those things that it's a cool story, but it works better in book because you can have a lot more tension in a written story when you can't see the antagonist,
Right,
or protagonist, depending on the perspective taken. And that in film, you can do some cool special effects stuff with it, but beyond that, it just doesn't work as well as a story. And that was my take on it. And just to go ahead and spoiler alert, I was wrong.
Yeah.
They went a different direction, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Lee, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Whannell, maybe.
Yeah.
Sorry if I got it wrong. Anyway, he had a very, very interesting idea behind it, and he wanted to pay a kind of an homage to the original back in the, what was that, 30s or something like that.
I have to just say, I can never hear the word homage without thinking of Hot Fuzz and an homage to Bill Shakespeare.
Oh.
Every time.
It makes me think of Cop Out.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, homage. Homage.
Sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No. But so he wanted to do that, but at the same time knew that he had to make it interesting for today, right? Mm-hmm. And so in part of doing that and paying respect to the original story was kind of what he said was kind of like letting it go, right? Like he already knew what it was, and he had a fascination with it, and he had all these ideas kind of based off that, but he had to put that aside in order to build something that would work, that still brings, that story to life in today's standards.
Yeah.
Like with the suit being a technological marvel as opposed to like some potion that you drink.
Like a serum, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a much more modern take. And I think one of the best parts for me was the cast. This was some outstanding powerhouse performances. I mean, again, Elizabeth Moss just knocked it out of the park.
She is amazing.
She was so good in this because she's a very sympathetic character, and she's kind of unhinged at times, but you still feel angry for her.
Yeah. And she seems crazy enough for like for the other characters to think she's going crazy, but they do a perfect job of balancing it to where you never feel as the audience member that she's insane.
Yeah.
But even at the same time with keeping the audience in the loop to her not being crazy, they still managed to pack some really good twists into this movie.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that the twist is not her, that it's not her mental stability. That's not the twist here. It's other factors. And I thought that was great. That was a very nice take.
Yeah, I think
totally agree.
I think that they did a really great job of I guess, letting her walk the line of somebody that is emotionally disturbed due to a situation that she had been in. And, the people on the outside seeing that and being able to interpret that as she's just cracked. And we know, like, she hasn't just cracked. Right.
Yeah.
So you can also understand from their point of view. You're like, no, but you've got to listen to her. And then sit there and think, yeah, but if I were sitting there, I would be, oh man, you've been traumatized and you have just lost it. And it's very sad. I would like to be here for you, but
And that was another kind of interesting thing, is that they made her sister Emily be sort of less sympathetic to her plight.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's somebody that's been with her through it. And you would expect her to be more comforting and more understanding. And instead it's her friend James, played by Aldous Hodge, that is really steadfast. I mean, he definitely has his moments of not really believing her, but at the same time, he's always there for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, her sister, played by Harriet Dyer, is, I don't know, it's like they've had a relationship that's been at arm's distance due to the situation that Cecilia has been in. Like, she wasn't allowed to kind of really communicate with her sister. And so I think that may be more depicted at the moment when she's finally run from the house and gotten into her car, and she's like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
So it just clues you in that she just doesn't know. Like, you don't get it. And so she's kind of hearing and viewing the whole thing with fresh eyes. So for her to get like a super hateful email, she's just like, oh, well, screw you.
Right.
It was, I don't know. I think that they did a really good job with the storyline, with the individual characters, and kind of tying it in, and how to make your main character seem cracked.
Yeah. And one thing that really yeah, absolutely. It also makes me think of another thing that I was blown away by the way that they wrote this, is that so often they go into the technology really heavily, or they go into the mind of somebody who would try that on themselves or whatnot. And you basically do not see the main antagonist other than, shots of him asleep in the very, very beginning, until like the last 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And
the very beginning and the very end.
Yeah. And all they say is, all is he's made a suit that makes him invisible, but you don't get any of the technology delve. You don't have, he works in optics, and the brief times you see the suit without it being invisible, when you can actually see it, you get a understanding that it's some sort of camera projection system, right. But they don't delve deep into it. And while I'm somebody who loves a movie and sci-fi that has a lot of technical jargon and the technology is explained really well, this was so much better for not having that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it was good to be able to kind of exploit things that people that are interested in technology might already understand,
and made it plausible.
Right. Exactly. So that, I guess he based a lot of the suit off of what would be military tech and their scientific experiments in like camouflage,
right? And
built that into a suit. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to make sense 100%. It's something that people that are interested in science or technology enough know that things like this are kind of being developed. They're obviously not at that level, or they'd be rolled out. But
they're not even to Predator level yet.
Right, exactly.
Or it's like Shimmer Man.
Yeah. But to see it in this, you're like, okay, cool. I mean, it's just straight technology. It's no like super crazy science formula that was discovered by a genius that just happened to, that kind of story.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool as well.
I also thoroughly enjoyed the way that they did his brother, Tom.
Yeah.
He was played by, Michael Dorman? Dorman. I'm saying Dorman.
Yeah.
Cool.
Michael Dorman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That change, it was such a complex character. Man, he was good. Because once he had that conversation when the main character, Cecilia and James go and confront him to tell him to tell Adrian to stop.
Right.
And he breaks it down about how he always hated his brother and everything like that. I was almost borderline convinced that maybe it really was in her head. Right. Not that she was crazy, but the whole, well, yes, she's crazy. Not that she seemed necessarily crazy other than this possible fantasy. Oh my goodness. It's so many twists and turns. It was so freaking wonderful. I really liked this movie.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I was more impressed than I thought I'd be. And I already thought that I would like it. I already thought I'd be kind of impressed by it.
Yeah.
But my expectations were succeeded.
Yeah, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. I didn't necessarily want to watch this film. Yeah. I was a little bit like James was. I like the book. I don't necessarily like any of the other interpretations I've seen. It's something that it's better to paint a picture in your head as opposed to putting it on screen in front of you.
Right.
But this movie was really good. It was better dialogue, better acting, way better storyline than I anticipated. I thought maybe it would be a little cheap, maybe some jump scares or some more horror movie aspects. But
yeah.
No, it definitely stayed in the psychological thriller realm, and I really like those. So
quite steadfast in that realm.
Yeah, I really like a movie that screws with your head, and this did a good job. It just, I really liked whenever she's, peeling back that suit and it's the brother, and you just don't even know what to think anymore.
Right.
Yeah, that part makes you kind of wonder. What's the whole story here?
Was the puppet master? What's happening?
Right. And that's what everybody thought, except for Cecilia.
Yes.
And as the one who had lived that reality, you feel more inclined to trust what she's thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would. I mean, at that point, I'm like, all right.
As the audience member, I do. As the other characters, I can understand their perspective.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think after that, I would kind of be like, look, you had this. I was totally wrong. You had this pinned down. If you don't think that this is it, like this story isn't over, then I'm inclined to believe you now, since I didn't for so long before. I mean, we even had you in a mental ward. Right. So it's not very cool. I think I'm going to believe you now.
And I think James did a good job as the cop in it, he
thank you.
Believe you do not look like Aldous Hodge. But he did a good job of believing her, that there was more behind it, that Adrian had something else to do with it. But he also understood that this isn't going to hold up in front of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to kind of keep it to yourself, and we have to figure it out because you can't tell other people all this. There's no way.
Yeah, nobody's going to believe it.
So I appreciate that it was more believable in that sense. that it's not a public issue. It's a you and me. We'll figure this out together because I was dead wrong when I didn't believe you. So this time I'm going to give you a little leeway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It was, I found it really, really cool, really interesting, like how the pieces were put into place, I guess, by Adrian.
The only thing I'm curious about is how they pulled off the suicide faking. That was never explained, because if quote unquote Adrian was tied up in the cellar the whole time, sure, he wasn't, but who was it that looked like Adrian that was lying on the floor? Because whenever the brother shows Cecilia the photo, it's him laying on a bathroom floor with like a throat slit.
Yeah, I would assume that was just staged.
Yeah, but how do you get the cops to agree with that?
But if he has the technology to build this fancy pants camera invisible suit, I feel like he can probably fake a photo of his own death.
Well,
that's not the issue. I'm talking about the cops coming in to investigate the suicide and the morgue and all of the things that go into a dead body in modern society.
Right, but we don't know that happened, right? All we know is that here's pictures of my dead brother. My brother's dead now. I've notified you since I'm the executor of his will. Like, you don't see any of that other stuff.
Yeah, but James is a cop.
James wasn't involved in it, though.
Right, but you think, being Cecile's friend, he would have at least been like, look, I saw the file, his body's on the rocks down in the morgue, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, you would think. I don't know. They don't ever go into it.
Right. That's the only loose end that I felt was like, I don't know how that worked, but it wasn't important.
It wasn't enough to be like, well, this whole thing is farcical.
Right. No.
Love
the ending.
That is true. But that was really the only thing that I kind of thought is, maybe it just, like, maybe it was never reported to the cops or anything at all. Maybe it was just the brother kind of handling everything. That was just my original thinking.
Yeah.
But no telling.
Well, didn't he leave her money?
Yes.
Then it had to go through official chains, because there's no way that a will would be able to be enacted with. Oh, wait, his brother was the one who controlled the estate. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he left her a trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he was a lawyer, so he was the one that would have been in charge of all of that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Although anyway. I would assume you'd need like a certificate of death or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe we found something that was missed.
If so, it's a very, very small hole that is not enough to, in any way, for me, impact the overall narrative.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Because I can't remember what he said specifically regarding the money. I know that he kept calling it a trust, and so depending on what he said and how it was set up, he wouldn't necessarily even have to be dead. His brother could just lead off with, he's dead and here's some money he left you in a trust.
Right. Not actually have it as part of a will, just set up a trust.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't remember the exact language because I wasn't necessarily paying attention to that bit.
I was about to say, I probably wasn't that deep into it at the time. I wasn't really like,
Yeah. I wasn't sleuthing for details that they might have missed.
I was looking to be entertained.
Exactly.
Go figure.
Not question the will.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I think this one did a very good job, at least in my opinion. I was thoroughly entertained, and there were so many twists and turns that I did not see coming. I enjoyed this a lot. Yeah. Definitely recommended.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And say, if you haven't watched it, well, sorry for spoiling things, but you should watch it. And if you have honestly, watched it, good on you.
I don't think we've spoiled a whole lot right now. We're about to do favorite scenes, so that might be that's going to be a whole nother story.
We didn't spoil everything, but
I'm about to.
Right.
So let's go ahead and get into that. What was your favorite scene, Daniel?
So my favorite scene was actually, unfortunately, was actually in the restaurant when Emily dies.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a spoiler there. It was like I knew something had to happen, right? Because she's telling her everything,
Right.
and in a believable manner, and her sister seems to be believing her. I did not expect for slash, throat slit, knife in your hand.
Right.
That was like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
What just happened? Just like I'm sure that Cecilia was. What the hell just happened?
That was a good
My
sudden
God.
thing.
Because you just see the knife floating there for a second.
Yep.
And then it's like, slash, bam, and it's in her hand. And you're like, oh, crap.
I also think that is one thing that was slightly confusing is like, why would you close your hand around the knife?
I think it's just instinct.
Sure,
Reflex,
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, somebody slaps something in your hand, and you normally just kind of close it around before you realize what it really is.
I don't know in that situation, but I have a feeling if somebody slapped something in my hand, like a knife handle, that would draw my attention for at least half a second.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
Might be kind of focused on your dead sister.
I was about to say your
though.
sister bleeding out in front of you might be a little shocking. A little more shocking than that.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that would overpower my natural reflex to be like, what the hell's in my hand?
Yeah, to go, ugh. But no, it was just a perfect piece of a puzzle to get her institutionalized.
Yeah.
And it seemed to kind of come from nowhere, right? Like I was expecting she tells her everything and then her sister gets in the car and then, dies mysterious in a car wreck because dude made her crash or something.
Right.
I was not expecting middle of a restaurant, wham, bam, blood all over you, ma'am.
Yeah. I like that part of it though, because she obviously took her to a very public place because she thought they'd
be safe.
He wouldn't do anything with that many witnesses, but I mean, he's invisible.
He can do what he wants.
As long as he's quick and quiet, yeah, nobody will be the wiser.
Yeah. So I thought that was really artfully done.
It was. It was also one of the more challenging scenes in the movie to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For somebody like me who doesn't like very much gore. It wasn't super gory, but I was like, oh, God.
Fair enough. So that was mine.
It was intense. What about you, Rachel? What was your favorite scene?
I think that I'm going to have to go with the scene when she's in the hospital and she steals the pen from the brother.
That's also a good one.
And then whoever is attacking her, and she just starts stabbing the hell out of him with the pen. And then you get such a great scene of whoever is in the invisible suit.
I'm pretty sure it was
wreaking
Adrian.
havoc on everybody in this hospital, but the suit's flickering in and out.
Yeah, that was really cool.
And I thought that was such a good visual, and it was so well done. It didn't look super fake, and I really appreciated how they did that. And he laid waste to everybody, which was a little annoying because there were moments with the guards or with Cecilia even that it's like, pick up the gun.
It's in front of you.
And nobody picked it up. Nobody shot at anybody. Like, no.
Yeah.
But I really liked that. And then the suit kept flickering. It was a very cool visual.
I really appreciated that scene. One of the things that I did really appreciate about it also, though, was the fact that they weren't just winging shots down the hallway, right?
Yeah, there was nobody just like popping shots into the air or anything.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh my God, there's an invisible guy, pull out the machine gun. It wasn't any of that kind of crap because you're going to kill a whole bunch of people.
Right.
so it was, it would make sense for people that are trained and, that are armed guards to not just randomly start shooting rounds everywhere and try to assess a situation, even though they were getting their ass kicked. And I also appreciated the fact that he didn't kill any of them. Like he wasn't just like a crazy mass murderer or anything like that.
Well, I think it was implied he killed at least a couple.
I don't think he killed any of them.
The one where he took the gun and the guy was on his knees and he, said bang or whatever and didn't shoot him. When he walks past him, he aims the gun back and shoots. And you hear the body crumple.
Yeah, I think he did kill a couple, but he didn't necessarily seem like that was his intention with all of them.
Yeah, he didn't just go and put a hole in everybody's head, which was really cool.
Right, because there was the one guard that he shot in the knee and then hit him in the head, but he left him.
Yeah.
So he definitely left some of them alive. His focus wasn't killing everybody in there. It was just really rattling the hell out of Cecilia.
And now it's time to get the hell out because my suit's not working properly.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, and now she's escaped, right? So it looks even worse for her.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really appreciated that. I don't know. I'll have to watch again to see if he does kill anybody.
So
I'll go through it frame by frame.
There we go.
That was fine.
It was a good one. What about you, James?
For me, huge spoilers. It was the very end. The way that she, kind of infiltrated Adrian's house and the whole "I'm coming back to you" motif. His pure narcissism and arrogance.
I was about to say feeding into his narcissism.
Right. Man, and then the way that she conducted the murder was so good and so sneaky and tricky. I loved it. It felt satisfying for somebody who had been tormented this entire movie to have her revenge and a resolution where I'm not worried about them trying to make a second one or any garbage like that. I felt like I got a fully contained movie.
Right.
And that, I got the as happy as a happy ending can be in a movie like this.
Yeah.
And it was a very clean and complete kind of scene when they kept showing the security footage, and she's very clearly not in the room and never in the room.
Right.
And so I like that she made sure to sit in the end chair completely in camera view and to leave the room and not come back in a visible way.
Right.
Yeah.
It was so well done.
Yeah, it was really good.
It really was. It did leave a door for a second one, though.
As her being the invisible woman.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that would be a dramatically different movie, though. To the point to where it may be in the same universe, but I don't know if I would necessarily... The way that I don't... Aliens is technically a sequel to Alien, but I see it as kind of a spinoff compared to something like Prometheus or Alien Covenant, where those all have their kind of super sci-fi horror.
Right.
Where Aliens was much more of an action movie. I think that you might get something very similar with if they did a second one here. Because I would hate for them to retroactively turn Cecilia into a murderer or a bad person or something like that. Because she's so sympathetic in this one.
Sure. But she's also gone through quite a lot and then had to murder someone in order to get out of that situation.
I
could see her being vigilante, yeah.
Yeah, being like Elizabeth Salander.
I was going to say, they could do quite a few things.
And just going through and killing abusive husbands or something like that.
She starts working for like the, what do they call it? Like one of those abuse clinics or whatever.
Oh, that's a better choice.
The Watchmen. No. But yeah, no, like gets a job where she gets, kind of inside information on people and then.
Right. She's like a social worker or
something.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Your dad did what to you?
right?
Well, I think he's
the invisible
I bet he's
peppermint.
very sorry he did.
Yes, right, exactly.
I bet he can't live
now
with himself.
Yeah. I bet Daddy has no thumbs when he comes home tomorrow.
All right. Well, then I think that pretty much covers it for The Invisible Man. Was there anything else you guys wanted to hit on before we get off?
No, that does it for me.
No, I think that's it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed The Invisible Man as much as we did. If you did, please go to our website, go online, like, and subscribe, and join us next time on Were You Not Entertained?